What is up, homies? This is Touchy Man 69, and today we have a list of the top 5 Garys. Just to be clear, everyone has to be called Gary. So if you aren't called Gary, you are probably not on the list. Well, without further ado, let's get started. Just remember, if your parents didn't call you Gary, you can claim compensation. Just dial 999 and ask for a mechanic, and you will be diagnosed with AIDS, with immediate effects. Wow, what are you waiting for? Number 5. Gary. This Gary is a well-known Gary who got smuggled into Peckham whilst Mr. Derek Trotter was loading cheap beer onto his lorry, but Gary couldn't understand English and gained a few friends because of it. This Gary also had free funky clothes, a curry. And did you know? He is called Gary. He later got his newly found friends arrested after a business deal went wrong. So Gary loses Gary points for that. On to the next Gary. Number 4. Gary. This Gary is a mischievous little fellow, doesn't really do much because he's a snail, but he seems to be fed up with SpongeBob and his retarded friend Patrick the Starfish. Now, I've watched a lot of SpongeBob, but Gary seems to be so boring that I can't remember what he does. The little fucker just meows like a fucking cat and thinks he's important. Well, I've got news for you, Gary the Snail. You're a twat. Yes, that's right, you round fuck nugget. Think I won't do it, huh? Think I won't fucking demote you to an honorable mention? Well, you get to stay here because the Gary before you was a money-thirsty snitch who didn't like sandwiches, and the only other Gary in question for the top 5 list is Gary Lineker. But Gary Lineker is a crisp-munching fucktard who shit himself on the football pitch and thinks he's important. Well, Mr. Lineker, if you stop eating crisps and wipe up the poo stains from Stadio Santelia, then you might be number 4. Please don't sue me, Mr. Lineker. I will hand-feed you Walker's crisps with my hands, and wipe your bum for you with my cock. Number 3. And yes, it is, who you think it is, the one, the only, Gary. Now, this Gary is a mad lad. At first you think he's just an ordinary TV repairman, but no. This Gary is an absolute player. I mean, where do I start? He has 2 fucking wives. Yes, he done the unimaginable, the unthinkable, and successfully managed to do it, all while he couldn't give a fuck about anyone's feelings. What a pimp. He is also worshipped at his friend Ron Wheatcroft's printing firm. Now, he used his friend Ron, who was a well-respected businessman who owned a printing company, but Gary the pimp thought otherwise, and destroyed all of Ron's reputation and made him go bankrupt. Why is he so special? Well, he managed to take them both to dinner 50 years apart on the same night, one in a curry house, another upstairs in the Royal Oak pub. How did he do this, I hear you ask? He snuck through the window in the curry house whilst his friend Ron was on guard from his wife Yvonne, whilst he crept down the alleyway and time-travelled to the 40s and had dinner with his wife Phoebe. Did I forget to mention that said Gary was a time traveller? Wow. You might be thinking to yourselves, how is Mr. Gary Sparrow 3rd on the list? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because he's a cunt. On to the next Gary. Number 2. Next on the list we have, wait for it, wait a bit longer, have you guessed who it is yet? Well, now I'll tell you, it is Gary. This Gary is absolutely sensational. He's a very talented young Gary and by far has more talent than the last 3 Garys that we showcased. What's so special about Gary Payton II? Well, he single-handedly won the Golden State Warriors the 2022 NBA Finals, which was their first since 2018. How did he single-handedly win it for the Warriors? I hear you ask. He won it because he intimidated the other teams by always getting in the face of his opponents. He can dunk like Michael Jordan, and when he releases his inner Steph Curry and comes in clutch for the 3-pointers, and he's really aware defensively, when GP2 is on the court, ain't nobody scoring, you know what I'm saying. He has the best celebration, and let's be real, could their Warriors have done it without Young Glove? Fuck no. No fucking way. Fuck right off. I've only watched basketball for a season and I know more than the pundits. I am an absolute G, just keeping it real in the hood. My homies. Now Gary has moved to the Portland Trail Blazers and left the Warriors for a fuck ton of money. Now that's my Gary. Well done GP2. He won, he dipped, then became rich. Now on to the honorable. If they were called Gary they would be on the list. Mentions: Han Solo Berger, my bad I mean, Todd Peterson, Donnie Berger, Johnny Gat, Michael Jackson, 50 Cent and Garantia, whose main profession was raping goats. Wow, with new scientific research, also known as Google, has brought Mr. Garantia to his full potential. But please tell me, Mr. Garantia, why did you rape Max Verstappen? I think we'll never know. And now number 1.
To give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final.
Gary Neville.